Before we start today's lesson, let's take a look at this warm-up question. It says, which has greater spread? So here we have a dot plot of exercise in hours, and then below that we have a dot plot of video games in hours. And so if the question is which has greater spread, remember there's several statistical measures on how we look at spread, right? One of them is range, and range, remember, is found max minus min. So if we find the range for both of these, in the first one it would be, since the maximum value is 12 and the minimum value is 0, looks like I get a range of 12. In the next one, looks like the highest is 14, the lowest is 0, so it would be 14 minus 0, and so the range for the second one is 14. And so far it looks like video games have a little bit more of a spread than exercise, just based off range. But remember, we also have another statistical measure. We have what's called IQR. And so remember what IQR is it's the interquartile range. That's your Q3 minus your Q1. And so to find these, we would actually have to find the third quartile and the first quartile using our calculator. But then we could subtract the two and figure out what the interquartile range is there. So I took some time to enter in the exercise values on my calculator, did my one variable stats page, and then also did that with the video games that you'll see here and the images. And so if you look at the first one, up at the top, it looks like our quartile 1 is 1 and our quartile 3 is 7. So the interquartile range there would be 7 minus 1, which is 6. The interquartile range for the next one below, the quartile 1 is 7, quartile 3 is 11. So in that case, that would be 11 minus 7 if I subtract the two, and the interquartile range ends up being 4. So if you notice, the range is a little bit higher in the second one, but lower in the interquartile range. And then in the first one, the range was smaller, but the interquartile range was higher. So it's really still hard to determine which has greater spread. So this is when we might look at that other statistical measure for spread, and that is this SX. And it's kind of hard to see on my screen, but SX, remember, represents standard deviation. And the bigger the number is, and the bigger the standard deviation number is, the more spread out that data is going to be. And so if you compare the two, in the first one we have a standard deviation of about 3.95, and the other one we have a standard deviation about 3.5-ish. So overall, we would actually say that the exercise would have greater spread there. But today's lesson is going to dive a little bit more into this standard deviation number. So today's lesson is all about what's called normal distribution, and there's a lot of great examples of normal distribution out there. Heights of people is a great example, rolling dice, IQ score, stock market, shoe size, birth weight, ACT and SAT scores. In fact, you can kind of see some images that we show here, but normal distribution has a similar shape between all these images. In fact, if you notice in the first one, sort of a bell shape here. We have another kind of bell shape in the female shoes. We have a bell shape with looks like birth weight here, bell shape for IQ graph, and then as well as bell shape for looks like some stock market analysis stuff. And so no matter what, if it's a normal set of data like these examples here, and you were to find all the heights of people, let's say in the world, it will end up following almost a perfect bell curve. And so this is called the normal curve as well, otherwise known as the bell curve. And so with the bell curve, what's really interesting about this is most of the data, if you notice, kind of a big chunk of data here falls smack dab around the mean, around the average. And so when we have a normal distribution, we create this bell curve that you see here. And when we have this bell curve, there's certain tick marks that really align with the standard deviation and the mean itself. In fact, smack dab in the middle of our bell curve is our mean. And so that'd be the average, so we'd have to find that first. And then these other tick marks that go out on the edge here represent the standard deviation. So this is 1 standard deviation above the mean. This would be 2 standard deviations above the mean. This would be 3 standard deviations above the mean. And then also in the other direction. So this would be 1 below. This would be 2 below. This would be 3 below the standard deviation. Remember, SX represents standard deviation here. So when we get to some problems here in a little bit, it might be given what the mean is. It might give you what the standard deviation is. So once we know that, we can label out our tick marks. But what's really interesting about these normal bell curves is smack dab in the middle is the mean. And there's a certain amount of percentages that actually follow what's called the normal distribution here. And it's called the empirical rule. And so what that means is once you kind of fill out your normal distribution, it's true that 34% of the data, whatever this normal distribution data is, or normal data that we have, 34% of the data falls between the average and 1 standard deviation above the average. It's also true for below because this is symmetric. And so 34% of the data also lie between 1 standard deviation below the mean up to that mean there. The next 2 sections above and below the mean is 2 standard deviations away, and that actually has a percent of 13.5% in that little area. And then lastly, this little sliver, this little edge left over here, that is exactly 2.5% of the data, roughly. So these percentages are something that you should copy down in your notes. Because in the next couple slides we're going to be using information in a word problem to then develop our normal curve, and then from there we should be able to answer some questions about the specific data set. So take a moment, make sure you copy these percentages down, make sure you copy the entire bell curve down, as well as even the tick marks that you see on the x-axis here. So here's your typical example that we're going to be practicing today. So a study was done on heights of students at Shakopee High School. The data collected gave a mean of 168 centimeters with a standard deviation of 8. So let's say we had all 2,800 kids entered in on our calculator. We did our 1 variable stats list. We pressed enter, and then it spit out the average, which remember that's X bar on our calculator, so that's 168. And then it also gave us SX, standard deviation, of exactly 8, let's say. So this is what popped up on our calculator. And so question A says, what's the percent of students that are 160 centimeters or more? Once we know the standard deviation and mean, we can kind of fill out our tick marks below. Remember, the mean is exactly smack dab in the middle of the normal curve. So we're going to put that 168 right in the middle. And then remember, as we go up and down, we're really adding or subtracting the standard deviation number. And so 1 unit to the right here, I'm going to be adding the standard deviation of 8. And so if I add 8 from 168, I get 176. And then I'm also going to add 8 again to go 1 more standard deviation above. And so if I add 8 again, that becomes 184, I believe, right? And then adding 8 one more time would be 192. And I also want to subtract 8 now the other direction. So subtracting 8 on the lower end would give us 160 here. Subtracting 8 again would give us 152. And then subtracting 8 one more time would be 144. Once we have our tick marks laid out, remember the percentages from the previous slide, right? 34% lie 1 standard deviation above and below the mean. 13.5% are this next little wedge, and then the little tiny sliver is 2.5%. So question 1 said, what's the percent that it's 160 or more? If I were to shade this area of 160 or more, well, 160 is right here. If I were to shade everything, that would be all of these percentages. And so that would be, in this case, the 34 plus the 34 plus the 13.5 plus 2.5. Using my calculator, 34 plus 34 ends up being 68. 13.5 plus 2.5 ends up being 17. And so if I add those together, I get a final answer of 85%. So if I total those percentages that are 160 or more, I get 85% exactly. So that's our answer for letter A. Letter B says the percent that it's between 152 and 168. Well, 152 is right here, 168 is up here, so if I shade this in blue now, that would be this little sliver. That would be these two spaces. And so that would be, in this case, the 34 plus the 13.5, which together gives us 47.5%. Percent of students that are between 176 and 192. Well, 192 is right here, 176 is right here, so the percent between them would be these two little percents. So 13.5 plus the 2.5 gives me a total of 16%. And then lastly, students shorter than 176. Shorter than 176 would be all of these ones, right? From this line all to the left. And so I guess you could probably just take your answer that was between 176 and 192 and really subtract that. So if I take that 16% there, subtract 100% off the data, should get my answer, as well as adding up those percentages below. But I believe you get the same answer as our letter A there. So we should get 85% as our final answer. So let's take a look at one more here. So I want you to pause the video and see if you can fill out your tick marks here. So the mean is 8 and the standard deviation is 2.5 for this one. So fill out your tick marks and then maybe make sure you label your percentages. But take a moment, pause the video, and see if you can answer these 3 questions below. We'll go over this in a few minutes. Good luck. So if I give you the mean of 8, we're going to put that smack dab in the middle. So there's our 8. And if the standard deviation is 2.5, then that means I'm going to add 2.5 and subtract 2.5 several times to get my other tick marks. So if I add 2.5, that becomes 10.5 here. Adding 2.5 again gives me 13. Adding 2.5 gives me 15.5. And I'm also going to do the other direction. Subtracting 2.5 from 8 gives me 5.5. Subtracting 2.5 again gives me 3. And subtracting 2.5 gives me 0.5. The percents are always going to stay the same in a normal distribution. So that's 34%, 34%, 13.5, 13.5, and 2.5, 2.5. So in the first question, what percent of cell phones is more than 10.5? That would be this little area, right? The yellow area. And if I add those two up, it's 13.5 plus 2.5, you should have got an answer of 16%. What percent of students are less than 3 hours a day? Less than 3 hours a day? Well, less than 3 hours would be this little small sliver here, and that's 2.5%. And lastly, between 5.5 and 13 hours, so if I look at 5.5, which is right here, and 13 hours, which is right here, I'm adding up all these percentages now for that last question. And so that would be 34 plus the 34 plus the 13.5. Looks like I get 81.5 overall. So my final answer would be 81.5 for that one. So hopefully you got the same answers as me. But for now, you guys are free to practice the worksheet out there. In this practice, the given information is always above, and notice it's kind of a little weird, but the standard deviation is given as this notation, and the mean is given as this little notation, but they're giving you the numbers, so make your tick marks. And then I do want you to shade in sort of where that is, kind of like what we're doing in our examples today, where you're shading in the percentages that applies to, and then from there determining your probability. But you can always check out the key that's out there, and don't forget to submit the homework quiz. And this kind of concludes our lesson in statistics, in fact our last lesson in this unit, so we're going to start geared up for that statistics quiz here in the next couple days. With that said, you guys are free to go practice. Don't forget to submit that homework quiz, and have a great rest of your day.